Okay. All right, folks. We're going to call this meeting to order. First, just noting our land acknowledgement, the Kingston Police Service Board acknowledges that it is on the traditional homeland of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Huron-Wendat peoples. We thank them for their stewardship of the land, and it is in the spirit of stewardship that we are committed to providing for the safety and security of all its citizens. Okay, so first up, we have a presentation from Brent Fowler, Director of Corporate Asset Management and Fleet, and Shruti Patel, Corporate Asset Management Analyst, both of the City of Kingston, who are speaking regarding the Kingston Police Asset Management Plan. I believe that they are online, so we will hand the floor over to them. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us on the agenda this afternoon. We're going to provide an update to the Police Service Board related to the OREG asset management requirements and update as it relates to the police services assets that were in scope for that asset management plan. So this afternoon we'll cover off the following items during our briefing. We'll provide an overview of the city's asset management journey. We'll summarize the principles of asset management. Just a bit of a refresher from last year when we also presented to the board related to our non-core asset management plans. We'll get into specifics around the police services highlights for the assets that were utilized and included in the city's asset management update that was presented to council earlier in the week. And we'll close with recommendations and next steps for a way forward. The asset management work is a continuous journey, and we've highlighted again a few recommendations and next steps working with the team from Kingston Police. We'll also, you'll have time to obviously ask any questions related to the material that we've covered off this afternoon. So here is an overview of the city's asset management journey to date. The asset management work started way back in 2019 with the City of Kingston adopting its first asset management policy. Through the last 5 years, there's been a number of initiatives taken and requirements from OREG 588-17 that the city has met. This included multiple different asset management plans, as well as a public engagement project back earlier this year that covered off an asset management survey, as well as pop-up events where members of the public and community could ask questions of some of the asset management team members, as well as some representatives from Dillon Consulting around the work that we're doing with respect to asset management. Back on Tuesday, we presented to council, you'll see at the end of the timeline here, we presented to council our first natural asset management plan. We presented an additional information report that covered off the city's approximately 25 service areas and a replacement value of the city's portfolio of assets of around 8.3 billion. It is important to note that the asset management plan update that was presented and the city's asset management plans exclude water, wastewater, natural gas, and water heater rental assets, which fall under Utilities Kingston's asset management plans. These 25 service areas and assets that support them cover a vast number of critical municipal services that the community relies on. One of the important points of the Phase 4 OREG requirements is the development of a proposed level of service for all assets and a corresponding 10-year financial strategy for how those asset funding requirements could be met. I'll touch on that a little further on in the presentation. One of the critical points that we've spoke about numerous times is connecting the asset management plans to a number of key city strategic plans. And in this case, as it relates to Kingston Police, connecting the work we're doing with them and the asset management plan with overall strategic plans while continuing to meet specific regulatory requirements. This next slide highlights the 7 steps that were the essential questions of asset management way back when the province first enacted this requirement. Currently, with this final report, we've covered off all 7 requirements. Initially, the first step was to create an inventory, which is what do you have and where is it? We'll be working with Scarlett and some other team members at Kingston Police to create asset registers for some of the other equipment that would be considered an asset for asset management purposes, such as IT equipment, some other functional capital that the Kingston Police team utilizes in day-to-day operations. Today's report covers only the Kingston Police assets, the Kingston Police fleet assets, my apologies, as that was the inventory that we had to use for this analysis. It's important to note that the facilities assets themselves around the buildings, bricks and mortar assets are included in the city's corporate facilities asset management plan. Items 5, 6, and 7 is what is covered off in the most recent update that we'll be discussing today. And this really relates to more of the financial strategies and the financial impacts around asset management. When do you need to do it? Incorporating capital and operating plans. How much will it cost? And what is the acceptable level of risk specific to certain assets? While balancing long-term affordability, both short and long-term. And from the city perspective, we actually took a 20-year view. The regulation specifically speaks to 10, but all municipalities are looking at this longer than just a 10-year time frame. And there you'll see, again, highlighted the last 3 steps in completing the final phase OREG requirements. Stepping back, this chart highlights the overall financial impacts that we see when we acquire any asset. In this case, we've used a fleet example to show in year 1. Obviously, risk is very low, but the operating and maintenance costs is very minimal based on warranty. A lot of initial repairs will be covered off under warranty. O&M costs increase, operating and maintenance costs increase over the years as the vehicle or asset ages. In year 8, in this particular case, we used a transit bus example. We would actually complete a renewal or rehabilitation work to modify components, upgrade components to help to extend the life of that asset to potentially 13 to 15 years. In this asset management work, renewal work and interventions that happen during the life of the asset helps to optimize the life and better utilize and manage life cycle costs. It's important to note that capital and operating costs need to be considered together when making decisions around asset management and acquisition of assets. One of the focuses in the current update of the asset management plans was to look at a set of standardized performance measures or dials that we could use to consolidate all of the different service areas into common measures. In our original asset management plans, there are operational measures that potentially around approximately 80 different measures specific to different service areas. So our goal with our last update was to standardize those measures into really three groupings. This is common in other asset management plans and also allows us to focus on standardizing our measures as well as being able to benchmark our performance against our peers. So a refresher on level of service measures. Technical level of service are metrics that are foundational to staff to help them operationalize asset management planning and manage their day-to-day decisions around asset management. The two measures chosen was the average annual reinvestment rate and something we call the state of good repair backlog. From a community perspective, the community level of service metrics are what the community experiences day to day and their expectations around how assets will perform in the community, such as roads, a playground structure, etc. The main indicator for community level service is based on the condition of those assets. The measures we've chosen is the percentage of assets in fair or better condition for our asset management planning. And you will see this throughout all of the asset management plans, certainly that fall under the Ontario regulation. In the case of Kingston Police, the level of service measure that was utilized for the non-core asset management plan, a critical measure for the community was the average response time. And that will continue to be utilized as a measure for future asset management plan updates. But linking in the financial piece that I spoke about earlier, we'll be utilizing those technical measures for some of the other asset management performance indicators, or dials as we like to call them. This is a snapshot of the police fleet assets that form part of the asset management plan that was completed earlier this year. There was 139 fleet assets in total with an average age of just under 7 years. This is purely an age-based view of the fleet assets, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the downsides of using age-based calculations versus something we like to call condition assessment data later on in the presentation. This is another snapshot just to illustrate from the data. The average age, again, just under 7 years, approximately 9 to 10 fleet acquisitions a year. And at this point in time, a snapshot of just the very high level, what the distribution is of the age of the current fleet. It's important to note at the time of this analysis, it excluded 5 new fleet vehicles, 4 that have since been received and 1 still waiting for delivery. It's important to summarize the 3 scenarios that were used in the asset management plan financial analysis. The first one was what we call scenario 1, forecasted budget. This was the 2025 approved 15-year forecast, and because of the OREG requirement, the analysis was based on the first 10 years of that 2025 capital forecast. Again, this was the approved 2025 forecast, with 2026 still to be approved. The OREG requirement was based on 2025 data. For Kingston Police, both scenario 1 and scenario 3 were similar. There were no proposed changes to the existing level of service or any notable changes to actually modify the current level of service for these particular fleet assets from a condition age standpoint. The maintain level of service from a city perspective was an unconstrained analysis where there were no limits on financial commitments, and really was purely driven by level of service. In this particular case, it maximized asset levels of service, but with no financial constraints. It is simply unaffordable and unrealistic to look at scenario 2, and I'll speak to a little bit more about why that is and areas of improvement a little later in the briefing. When we look at condition and we link it to average age, you'll see that common throughout our asset management plans, we use a 1 to 5 condition ratings scale. This is very important and forms a critical piece of how we analyze the data. In the case of a fleet asset, for example, we basically convert the existing age of the fleet assets into a condition rating. So again, simply put, the newer the asset or the less it obviously has been placed in service, the condition rating actually is higher. This does not tell the full picture of the condition of an asset. It is simply a scale that's used in the absence of having condition assessment information. It is critical to point out that even though an asset, in this particular case, an asset that may be 6 to 10 years old, it doesn't mean that the asset is not fit for use or there's any safety concerns. It means simply that based on the age, it is closer to the end of its prescribed useful life, but in many cases through preventative maintenance and other practices, we can actually extend the useful life of certain assets. This is the reason why one of the largest recommendations from our asset management work is to transition and work with teams to develop more formalized condition assessment reviews and modeling. In the next 2 charts, this illustrates the condition distribution across those 139 fleet assets based on an annualized average budget of 1.2 million. Again, this is based on the forecasted 2025 requirements. And the similar maintain level of service, scenario 2, was slightly reduced to 1.1 million, but you will see the impact in the chart on a small reduction in funding obviously changes the condition distribution of the assets over time. Looking at it from a state of good repair backlog, you will see that in scenario 1, the forecasted budget, the state of good repair backlog is 5.6 million. The proposed level of service under that same scenario, as I stated previously, scenario 1 and 3 for police were the same. And maintaining the current level of service, that backlog actually increased. It's really critical to note when looking at state of good repair backlog that it does not take into account any existing commitments, or in this case, vehicles that may be in process of arriving, meaning already ordered, committed, delivered, and to be delivered. And in this particular case, that represents about $400,000 to that total backlog. And this backlog calculation that's showing in the charts is cumulative across the entire 10-year time frame. As we look to the other two performance measures that we've included in the asset management plan, you'll see that there's very little difference in the average annual asset reinvestment rate, very similar across all scenarios. But importantly, what we call performance measure number 3, the percent of assets in fair or better condition. Obviously, as funding is reduced or modified, the condition of the overall asset portfolio will decrease. So you'll see a condition rating of almost 46% in the existing budget, and it does decrease to 36% under the maintain level of service scenario. When looking at future forecasts, the existing budget scenario 1, looks very, very close to what is being forecasted for future requirements if we look at what is being recommended for 2026. So tying this all together, you will see for those, for the mayor and council members that sit on the police service board, that some of the recommendations and next steps specific to what we're including here and working with Kingston Police staff on are very similar, again, to what we discussed on Tuesday for all city groups. There's a significant focus on increasing data confidence, and that takes me back to our discussion around completing an asset register and detailed asset listing for some of the other IT and other equipment that would be part of an asset management plan. Completing more formalized condition assessments is absolutely essential. We'll be working with Scarlett and the team. We have some developed for the city fleet, and where we can store that information in the fleet management system. Developing asset reliability and downtime reporting using the fleet management information system to highlight where there may be specific issues, and rationalizing and the asset portfolio. Again, looking overall at utilization and performance. And something we've done here at the city is integrating our Geotab telematics data into predictive maintenance and scheduling, utilizing some of the sensors and diagnostic tools available through the telematics system, which Kingston Police also utilize. Scarlett, I'm not sure if you have anything to add on some of the recommendations and next steps that have been included here before we
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can.
Yeah, so first I really wanted to take a second to just thank the city staff for all the support and collaboration as we really work to continue and strengthen our asset management practices. I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes, so I just really, really wanted to thank all of the staff. And the other thing I kind of wanted to say is that the cyber incident, we had some really great plans for 2025, and the cyber incident kind of temporarily delayed those initiatives. So going into 2026, really a key focus for my group and working with Brent's group is going to be increasing our data confidence. That's a big one within our asset register. So really, that includes expanding what we have tracked that we're tracking in the system, and that means tagging all of our assets. So that's going to be a pretty big undertaking, but something that's so very much needed here. And I can say that if we can work towards this, it's going to make it so much easier for us to forecast using a system and things like that, and just working some other things that we want to do or start to get the system up and tracking all of the work orders and maintenance into that system. And it just gives us a lot more reliable information and really helps us with preventative maintenance, and really it'll save us costs in the long run. So really working towards getting an accurate and reliable asset data set is going to be key for our group in 2026. So I just wanted to say that. And again, thank you so much to the city team for all this assistance.
Thanks, Scarlett. Just to wrap up on that point, just to kind of highlight to the board around what some of the upcoming key milestones are related to the asset management reporting. So under what we call OREG 58817, asset management planning for municipal infrastructure, there's a requirement to provide an annual kind of scorecard to council and of course in this case the police service board around the progress that's been made annually around the asset management work, and also to highlight any barriers in kind of undertaking or completing some of those continuous improvement items that have been identified. And every 5 years, the municipality is required to complete a full update of all the city asset management plans. So again, that is quite a way off, but the annual reporting scorecard, we're working with a number of groups, including Asset Management Ontario, to kind of develop a standard that all municipalities hopefully will use, so that and also clarify with the province as well what some of their expectations are around that kind of annual reporting. We don't want to be doing a bunch of things or a bunch of work where maybe the expectation is they're looking for something different. So it's fairly open-ended in the OREG. So that's some of the lobbying we're doing, just with some of my peers around, just getting them to kind of clarify a bit in a bit more detail what that annual reporting requirement should look like.
Brent, I was just going to say one other thing too. Apologies as I forgot to mention this, but one of the other things that came out of the cyber incident was a really, really great report from Deloitte, the consultant that we brought in to assist. And they had several recommendations, again, about some of these same things, and that's around tagging our assets and stuff. So I just also wanted to say that I know under Ahmed's leadership, and that's our new IT director, that he's already been working on some of this. So I kind of forgot to say that, but this will involve our IT director as well. So we are already making a lot of headway on that. So just wanted to point that out.
No, that's fantastic. Looking forward to collaborating with Ahmed in the new year. So I think again a lot of work from Kingston Police staff as well, specifically in the fleet area, which is where we've certainly the assets that have been included as part of this. And yeah, just want to thank everyone for their support. Yeah, I guess we can turn it over for questions now. And once again, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fowler. Any questions from the board? Christian.
This might be a more rhetorical question, or it might be a question for the mayor, city councilors, deputy chief, or any of the staff. We've talked a lot about the assets, but a lot of this is, especially police, but generally city has a lot of high maintenance assets, especially the fleet assets. What are we doing in terms of shared services, in particular in maintaining those assets, in sharing best practices, in sharing those skill sets, both for the efficiency and effectiveness, but I also worry medium term we might be running into skills shortages within the city. And so there's also an integrity and continuity of operations component that we might want to play sort of a medium-term game to ensure that what we're doing between in-house contracting out and so forth.
Brent, if you want me to go first, or one of the, sorry, I can just
Sure.
I'll just say something very yeah, something just very, very quickly, is that some of the things that are on the radar that Brent and I have been talking about is, one, we need a service level agreement. That's something that we're definitely going to be working on in the new year. And we do need to have a little bit more of a strategy on looking at that kind of. So we do utilize the city, we do take vehicles there, but maybe we should be looking at if we can do that more. I can tell you that we spend a lot of money on contracting it out, and that's the other thing that we're looking at is our own internal capabilities, whether we need to strengthen the amount of staff that we have in-house. And when I say that, I mean maybe adding like a mechanic. That's just an example. So we have, the deputy and I have had conversations, and we do plan on bringing a report back to the board for those very reasons. So we're going to be looking at what we're spending on contracted services and how we could better maybe utilize a combination of things. So increasing what we're doing in-house and working with the city more to come up with some shared services. And I know that, just wanted to give a shout out to that. I know Gianni's in the room right now, but he's in the room there in person, and he's our fleet and facility manager. So we'll be working with him as well, and him and his team have been working on this a lot too. So between all of us, hoping to really strengthen this in the coming year. And I know the deputy and Brent would likely have something to say as well.
Deputy Chief, go ahead.
Just real quick, and thank you, Worship, and thanks, Brent, Trudy, and Scarlett and Johnny. I know a lot of the heavy lifting's been done by the team at the city side and also internally here too. I couldn't agree with you more. I think I look a lot at the lost time for our fleet and our lost time out of service, and we have a lot of lost time. Police vehicles are unique, and the data that we have in front of us is great data. But there's also another component: 24/7, 365 vehicles running for sometimes 24 hours a day with little breaks, and a 4 or 5 year vehicle on the front line could exhibit 15 or 20 years of wear and tear to the average person of driving, and that's just a rough estimate. Something that Scarlett touched on really unique is our building our internal capacity so that we can set our own timelines and our priorities when we rely on other outside agencies, and that's inclusive of the city. And they do a ton of work for us across the parking lot here in their garage to assist us and get us up and running as quickly as possible. But they've got their own priorities as well. So building some more internal capacity, I know, like Scarlett indicated, is definitely on the radar. And I think there might even be some cost savings. The police vehicles are quite unique. The outfitting in them is quite expensive and complicated and advanced compared to what it used to be 20 years ago. So building that internal capacity, I think, is where we're really looking to lean to reduce that downtime on the vehicles. On the lives of the vehicles, just really quickly, and just kind of provide the board a little bit of insight, is, you saw the numbers up there. Our first life is our patrol vehicles, and they last about 4 to 4.5, and then they go to second life, which is another approximately 2 years, which is our court services, our core unit, and things like that. And then we have third life, where we use them internally for our volunteers and things like that. And then we've actually expanded in 2025 in a strong partnership with the city to a fourth life, and some of our patrol vehicles have been going to the city for fourth life, special constable programs, transit, and by the time they hit the city, like Brent's PowerPoint showed, they're about at that 9-year mark. I think it's fair to say that they're more like a 15-year vehicle when they get to that point. But we do have some good cooperation and partnership with the city, where we started to transfer some of our vehicles over there if they can squeeze a couple more years out of them without high maintenance costs. But to your question, definitely we need to build the internal capacity, especially when it comes to patrol vehicles, would be my submission.
Thank you. Mr. Fowler, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to, adding on to the deputy's comments, the question around skill shortage and internal capacity. That's something we've taken. Certainly, can appreciate that Kingston Police would want to do something similar. We've done a lot with an apprenticeship program here at the city, working with QP and HR. So we're quite proud of that, as far as bringing in and helping kind of supplement our licensed mechanics. Has been very successful to date as well. We work very hard, similar to build internal capacity, running a 24/7 operation in many areas. If you think of transit, or obviously you've seen a lot lately with winter control assets. So we staff. We're staffed to cover that, which again is helpful to some of the patrol vehicles where they have availability to come and see us kind of after 4 o'clock. We also, outside of collision work and some very specialized work, we outsource very little at the city. We work very hard to build some internal capacity, even on the specialized things, deputy, with respect to camera systems and fare boxes, if you think of our transit fleet. So I can certainly and can help kind of calculate and help support the value of doing some of that work, to your point, internally. And I would add, when data is really, really critical. Obviously now with vehicles, there's a lot of onboard sensors and telematics system, and we'll be working very closely with Scarlett and Gianni. There really is value in utilizing the existing fleet management system at the city to help drive some of that reporting for you in future, that we can certainly help with, and we're happy to help do that. We've already started that journey, but yeah, definitely will be something we'll continue to work on in 2026.
Great. Thank you very much. Adam.
I think my first question was answered, that the first through fourth life, that's a repurposing of vehicles so that they continue into different areas of service. And then the second one, I think we were just starting to touch on, was fleet management software. I know some of these systems that can plug into output plugs into the units themselves and give good data, which then helps. I'm wondering if we have some form of a cost analysis per unit. Sometimes you could have a 3-year unit you wish you didn't have for 2. I'm curious about what type of management software or systems that we use to determine, as the vehicle itself, its cost analysis per annual, and if it's worth having second, third, fourth life.
Scarlett, do you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, and I'll probably let Brent jump in on that one too. So that's exactly bang on, Adam, is that's what we're working toward with Brent's group. So the city utilizes M5 software, and that's exactly, they've extended, and we are using that software. The key is that we really have to make sure that we're getting all of our data into that software so that it enables us to spit out the reporting that we need to make decisions. And that's exactly what we're working towards. And that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier, with the importance of that, making sure that we're getting all of our work orders in that system and all of our maintenance and everything, because then it then tells us how much we're spending on each vehicle and whether or not it does make sense to extend the life of that and use it for something else, or just simply dispose of it. And that's exactly what we're working towards. The other kind of comment I wanted to say too is that, and it's sort of unrelated, but just to highlight for everyone, is one of the newer things that we did in the last couple of months is that we switched to using, for our disposal of any assets, the same platform that the city uses. So they use GovDeals. Kingston Police has now, we've moved over to that, which I'm sure you've seen in the media, and that's just essentially an online auction platform that basically governments and municipalities use. So we're selling any of our surplus equipment now using that platform. So it's just really a great way, because it's online. It saves a lot of admin work and work on our side. Anyways, I just want to mention that, and I'm sure Brent, you might want to jump in too, just to talk about M5 and the benefits.
Yeah, certainly from the city side, and we're again working with Scarlett and Gianni and team on integrating their data. All of our work order level detail includes labor, parts, all of our extended warranty coverages, so we're able to do life to date analysis on all of our vehicles. And to the point that was made, not every vehicle is necessarily, depending on its history or use, obviously driver behavior can also impact the life of a vehicle. They're not all the same, so that data allows you to pick and choose with data which ones would be suitable to extend and which ones it may simply be better to retire and dispose of and not invest any more money in those. Idling hours is another big thing for certain applications that we monitor that does impact obviously wear on the engine and the vehicle life. So that's something that we also incorporate into our analysis at the city.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Fowler and Ms. Patel, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we'll continue on. First, I'll ask for a motion to approve our agenda for today's meeting, moved by Christian, seconded by Greg. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, I will ask for a motion to confirm the minutes from our previous meeting from November the 27th. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Adam, seconded by Christian. Any comments on the minutes? We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have one report regarding section 19 requests under the CSPA. Deputy Chief, any comments on that?
No, as the board is aware, and thank you, chairs, our section 19 requests are temporary assistance orders, and this period covers from November 1st to November 30th. And this one was specific to assistance from an outside police agency for some language assistance within interpretation.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just ask for a motion to receive that consent item by Greg, seconded by Adam. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to our next motion, that the board authorize the attendance of Gail McAllister, Adam Coven, and Laurie Sargent at the 35th Annual Police Employment Conference, February 24th to 25th, 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Christian, seconded by Greg. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. You can vote for yourself. No, that's okay. So you can. Next, we have a motion to that the board direct the board administrator to effect payment of the Ontario Association of Police Services Board's membership dues in the amount of $10,710 plus applicable tax. Moved by Adam, thank you. Seconded by Greg. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, on to new business. We do have one motion. Whereas Chief of Police Scott Fraser will retire effective December 31st, 2025, and whereas the appointment of Adam McIntosh as Chief of Police is effective January 20th, 2026, subject to meeting all requirements under the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019. Therefore be it resolved, the Kingston Police Service Board hereby appoints Deputy Chief Scott Gee as Acting Chief of Police effective January 1st, 2026, until the new Chief of Police assumes office or until otherwise directed by the board. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Greg, seconded by Christian. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, and now I'll ask for a motion to move in camera, please. Oh, yes, Christian, go ahead.
On that note, I think as a board, we just want to express our gratitude to Chief Fraser for the service that he's rendered, for the significant inroads he's made on delivering on the strategic plan, for his innovation to the contributions on matters of finance, of human resources, and in the way that he's also, I think, significantly changed our interaction when it comes to major events in the city, in particular with regards to Queens and homecoming and St. Patrick's Day. There's probably 1,500 things that I've forgotten about the contributions that Chief Fraser has made, but of course also important contributions to the Criminal Intelligence Service of Ontario, and the distinguished career, I think an exceptional service not just to this community but to his career and in terms of his reputation among chiefs in the province of Ontario.
Thanks, Christian. Absolutely. Appreciate those comments and just for the minutes of this meeting. So, okay. Thank you. With that, we'll ask for a motion to move in camera, please. Moved by Adam, seconded by Christian. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. And it is 12:50. We will reconvene upstairs in 5 minutes.